Hey y'all, welcome back to Daydream Manor Flower Farm. I'm Dawn, I live in South Louisiana, and today's video, let's talk about money and what that really looks like on your farm. Welcome into the stem shed. Y'all, this is what I'm going to tell y'all. July and August in South Louisiana is what I refer to as hell's halftime show because it's hotter than hell. I'm just going to put that out there. Anyway, don't have a lot going on out in the field simply because July and August, I don't commit to anything. I'm not selling bouquets. I take those months off. I try to give my beds a little bit of a rest. I still have my dahlias going in the high tunnel and I have mums in there, but nothing that really needs my everyday attention besides watering in the high tunnel. So the field is really bare. There's some zinnias still out there going along, but I try not to do anything in July and August. With that said, I did help my friend Karen do a workshop, and it went really well. So, but next July or August, the answer will be no, because I just don't want to do any of that in these 2 months. All right. With that being said, 2 updates, which actually prompted why I wanted to have this conversation today. So, my website is done. Got a complete refresh, facelift, a few things added to it, a few features that I wanted added to it. Y'all, Emily at the Light and Color Company did an amazing job. So just so you know, give you a little context. I built my website several years ago. I went with Wix. Not sponsored, my money. And I had to learn how to do it. I didn't have the budget to hire someone at that time. Y'all, and it took me months. And it took me months of going through. I mean, thankfully, Wix is pretty user-friendly. And they have an academy where you could go look at videos. But I spent so much time trying to build this website. And it still just didn't flow the way I wanted it to because I have the flower farm. And then I have my other endeavor, which is the Manor Mercantile, which you can see I sell cute t-shirts there and tote bags that I make, the designs I make, and I sell those, and then I sell my concrete pours. So I could never get it to flow the way I want it to on the website. I felt like it was really heavy, like all of the colors. So I made sure this year that I had in my budget to do that. The other piece that I budgeted for, and I finally got, is my sign. So yeah, I've had this farm technically since 2019. 2018 is the year I really started researching and narrowing down what I wanted to do. And then in 2019, I made the jump. So it's been several years, but I don't have a lot of people that I allow to come out to the farm. We don't do a U-pick. We don't do any of that right now. I did do that Fill Your Vase Day, and I will tell you, I was nervous because I don't have a liability policy, and we are in a very litigious state. But I think as a whole, people will just sue if you look at them the wrong way. So I am working on, with my insurance agent, on a liability policy so that I can do some more things here on the farm. So I really haven't needed a sign. I have people who just drive up to the gate, and when they come to pick up their bouquets. So finally got that done. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you can go look. I put some pictures up. I'm super proud of it. It is one of those long-term goals that I had, but just was never on my priority list. So how did it change, and why did it change? All right, this is going to be a little bit of a high-level overview of money. And what do you want to make? And so here's what I'm going to tell you. Financial literacy is a platform for me. I believe that, y'all know, I'm not going into debt over a flower. Me and Mr. Daydream have worked very hard to be where we are in a financial space, that I'm not going into debt over flowers. Ain't happening. I mean, I even find that I'm even conservative on how I plant and seed because I don't want to have to compost flowers. I also don't want that to put me into the space where, oh, I've got all these flowers, now I got to go hurry up and sell them, and I've got to figure out another outlet and all of that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I would rather be short of flowers than composting flowers. That's my philosophy. People think very differently, and that's fine. But that's just how I choose to operate the farm. I was not worried about, that's why I don't plant anything in July or August, because I don't plant anything that I want to do. If I want to go do a bouquet bar or anything like that, I'm not worried about it because July and August is a struggle here. So with that said, let's just talk about your plan. And I know if you work in corporate America, or if you've ever interviewed anywhere, a lot of times the question is, well, what's your 5-year plan? I will tell you, for the farm, that is super important. And I will tell you why it's super important. Because at my age, 5 years is a long time. And to commit to something as my role in corporate America changes, as my role at home changes, especially if you have if you're becoming empty nesters, what does that look like? If you have a spouse who's on the, is going to retire, or they're going to continue to work, what does that really look like? So for us at the manor, 5 years from now, I want to work about 3 more years in corporate America, and then I'm going to be done. Mr. Daydream is several years younger than I am, so he'll probably work another 10, maybe 15 years. I don't want to. I don't want to work for corporate America longer than I have to. So in the next 3 years, that is where I am getting my business built to a space where everything is done. And I don't mean the flowers, but I mean my infrastructure. All of those pieces that need to get done are done. So a lot of my money that I make, I put right back into the business. I do not take a salary out of there. Now here's the other thing. You need to have realistic goals of what you want that income to look like. At the age of 57, hashtag farming over 50, I never expected when I started this flower farm for it to replace my corporate salary. Never. That was just not even I think I thought about it for a second, and then I did the math and I was like, no, that's not happening. So I don't want, because again, I'm slowing down as I get older. So you need to really take a hard look at where you are in life. What season are you in? Okay. Now with that said, when I look at the farm in 3 years, retirement will kick in. Several years after that, we'll have Social Security. Well, if it's still around. We are in a place financially where retirement, that takes care of my house stuff, my utility bill, water bill, insurance, those things. What I want from the farm is for those extras. So I don't want to dip into my retirement or anything else or savings, any of that, to travel. I don't want to do that. I want the flower farm to help me travel. If we decide we want, well, I'm just going to say this, we're not, because our house is only a few years old. But if I wanted to remodel my kitchen, or if, I don't tell Mr. Daydream, but I want an outdoor kitchen. We'll work on that later. But to do the outdoor kitchen, I want the farm to pay for that. I want the money I can make off of the farm to pay for that. So when I think in terms of what does that look realistically for me long term, that's how I'm thinking. So what I need to make a year is not what somebody who wants to make a year, who may be in their 30s, and this may be their prime source of income. So figure out what that dollar amount looks like, and then we're going to do some figuring backwards just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So for the sake of this video, let's just say you want to profit $30,000. Now there's a lot of confusion around that. So what does profit really look like? Profit means after you have subtracted all of your expenses for that season, for that year, whatever it is, can or cannot include your salary. That is totally your call. I think people get wrapped up with, you must do it this way, you must do it that way. No. If you have worked in any job, people do things differently. It is what fits you and what makes sense to you. But you need to subtract your expenses. So let's just say that you are in a place on your farm where it's been established for a while. All you're really putting out every year is maybe seeds and maybe compost. Maybe your expenses are really, really low. Maybe you're just at a place where, or you're doing this in your backyard and it is just some raised beds and really all you're doing is maybe you're adding vases. So maybe your expenses are really low. Maybe you're spending less than $1,000 a year in expenses for hard goods to do your farm. You've got to figure that out. I don't know what that looks like. But we're going to pretend, for the sake of this video, that we want to make $30,000. That's what we want to gross. That's what we want to bring in. So I'm just going to put 30,000 on my paper because we're going to do this old school. I got pen, I got paper, and I have a calculator. All right. That's the first thing you need to think about. Second thing I want you to think about is how many months of the year do you have flowers? Realistically. So I can start getting flowers, and I'm not going to count tulips in there because y'all tulips are always iffy. But steady flow of flowers, I can usually get starting with some sunflowers, probably about the mid to end of March. And that's if we don't have a crazy weather event. So we're going to call that, we're just really going to call that April. So I can get flowers in April, May, June. I'm taking off July and August. I'm not working in there. Now you may have that different and you may live in a different climate. So think about your climate. I can pick back up in September. I can have flowers in October. I can have flowers in November. Our first frost really isn't until around Thanksgiving. And truthfully, sometimes it's not even really a hard frost. So I could do those. Now, January, February's iffy because if I can get my ranunculus and tulips, but I'm not going to figure that in here. December, I'm not working. January is all about planting, getting everything ready. So again, for me, I can get flowers 6 months out of the year. All right. Figure up how many times. Now, if I say I want to make $30,000, and let's just say all I'm doing is bouquets, and you're selling your bouquets at $25. So go figure out what you're selling a bouquet for. All right. And that bouquet price needs to have your cost of stems. If you're doing a vase, if you're doing ribbon, if you're doing a tag, whatever that is, how much you're selling that vase for. So let's just say you're selling them for $25. Okay. So I'm going to say $30,000 divided by 25. That is 1,200. Oh, sorry, my big fingers. 30,000 divided by 25. So let's just say that is 1,200 bouquets to get you to a $30,000 mark. That's the money you just want to bring in. That's not taking away any expenses. So let's just say that's 1,200 bouquets. And I'm not going to, and look, I'm not even going to take, look, and wait, let me start over with that sentence because I had two thoughts running at the same time. May is probably our biggest month. It is for me here. May is probably my biggest month to move flowers. So I make probably more money in May. I know I make more money in May than I make any other month. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to divide that out by the full 6 months. So we'll spread out 1,200 bouquets over 6 months. So that is 200 bouquets a month. Okay. Now, let's do one a little bit further down. Let's go a little bit further than that. Divide that out by 4 for your 4 weeks. So 200 divided by 4 is 50 bouquets a week. That's what you need to move. Can you move 50 bouquets a week consistently? And I say that consistently because some weeks you might move 75. And the next week you might move 100. The consistency. Think about that in terms of how much room do you need in order to get 50 bouquets a week churning out. Because that's the other thing. You got to have space to do this stuff. You can do, come and cut agains for sure, your zinnias, but sunflowers, that's a one and done crop. So you need to think about how are you succession planting and how do you get 50 bouquets a week? When you start thinking about it in those terms, some things that come to mind for me. One, is bouquets all I'm going to do? No. I've got some multiple revenue streams. $30,000 a year. What's my expenses off of that top of that? Now, once all of my infrastructure is in place, drip, all of that, I've got to think about water bill, because I got to water. And right now it is my water bill, because I'm not catching water yet to do my drip irrigation. That's all part of the bigger plan. But I've got to pay for that. I've got to pay to bring in compost. I need to have a little bit of money set aside for some of those things that break, or if something happens in one of my beds, to buy black weed cover. So some of those things are a want you may buy this year, like my weed cover, y'all. I bought that like 3 years ago. I still have a huge roll of it, so I probably won't have to buy it again in my lifetime. But it was a one-time cost and it had to come out. That was an expense. So think about every year what you're going to have to spend, and then deduct that from that $30,000. And you might be surprised at where you land. So for me, 50 bouquets a week is not doable. I physically cannot do that. Not happening. Now, if I look at it at $200 a month, maybe when I do my roadside stand, if I can do 100 bouquets in a weekend, that sounds better. Do 2 weekends out of the month, 100 bouquets each weekend. I still have to have those flowers. For me to harvest that many flowers, that's going to take some time. Time I honestly don't have. Working a full-time job, I don't know if I have that kind of capacity. That is a lot of bandwidth to harvest, to treat, to wrap, to put in vases, whatever it is. That's a lot of hustle. So that's one of the things you need to look at. How much time can you actually give to your farm? These are all things, and look, again, this is just really a high-level overview so you can get some realistic thoughts, because I look at Facebook or Instagram and I get tickled. Y'all know, we've talked about this. Somebody gonna post, 500, you buy a bag of seeds, sunflower seeds, 500 seeds for $4. You plant them and then you sell them for $2 a piece. That's $1,000. You subtract the $4 and you've made $996 off of this one pack of seeds. Y'all, that is so far from the truth. First of all 500 are not going to germinate. All 500 are not going to make them to a bouquet, into anything. We know this. No one is figuring in their time, what it takes to get their land ready. None of that. So that is such the romanticized part of running a business. That is people who are not running a business. That's what I'm going to say. And I get frustrated because I see new growers fall into that trap, and that is just not the reality. Right now, one of the things I had to go buy was some more DE and some more Captain Jacks. And I wasn't planning on buying that, but I needed it because we've had those stupid little caterpillars just decimating crops. That's the other thing. You want to keep and get this 50 bouquets a week, you got to have more flowers, and you've got to keep succession planting, and you've got to stay up on the bug pressure. So you've got to think those things through. What does your time allow? And what are you willing to dedicate to it? So, and I know this is just a short, simple, get you thinking. It is not meant to be a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, or a profit or loss statement. It is just simply to help you get to think about what it is you want from your farm. I encourage you to sit down, spend like 10-15 minutes and think about what the next 5 years looks like. What does that truly look like for you? Where are you? What season are you in life? Had a little glitch there. All right, I'm back. So thinking about what your season of life looks like. What is it going to entail over the next few years? Do you have kids who are starting school? Do you have kids who are graduating school? Do you have kids who play travel sports and that's going to take you away from the farm? Do you want to spend time at home? What does that really look like? That's a whole lot to consider. We're in a position where we do not have children at home. They're grown, they're gone, they have kids of their own. It is me, Mr. Daydream, Murphy, our dog, our chickens, and Bob the rooster. And so we don't really have to worry about being in a season where because we've been in those seasons where we've had kids playing ball, where we've, graduations, all of those things, weddings, all of those things that take our attention. Right now it's about us and about what we want to do. So we're in our selfish era. Just going to put that out there. Don't judge. So think through some of those things. But I will tell you, it will do you some good just to level set. Especially if you're a new farmer. I see a lot of folks also getting very frustrated because they're not being able to ditch their full-time job and get on the flower farm. Y'all, some people are really successful at that. And it also depends, y'all, and it also depends on where you live. How much time are you putting into marketing? How much are you, all of these things, it's all the things. So that's all I'm going to say for today. I'm going to leave it here with you. If you have questions, if you want to just talk it out in the comments, let's talk it out in the comments. But be realistic. Take some time. Focus on your 5-year plan. Think about what you want to do. All right. Well, here's my plan for the rest of the day. I had a terrible germination rate on some seeds I started for the fall. Because you know what I did? These are the things you should never do. I left and I'm pointing over here because that's what they are. I left my seed containers in the stem shed. Y'all, the humidity is well over 100%. Temperatures are well up into the 90s. Yeah. That's not where you should store your seeds. And I didn't even think about it. I left them in here for 2 weeks running. So I think that's a lot of the reason why I don't have a good germination. So I got to go make a plan B because I do want to have some fall stuff. But it's all fine. It's all fine. Perfect. All right. Y'all have a great week. And we'll talk again next week.